Joining me today is New Hampshire State Representative Karen Ebel. Karen, I want to touch base lastly sort of with issues that you think are sort of critical to the local people that you represent, you know, and then sort of talk about other issues affecting the broader area, the county, for example, Merrimack. What are the issues that you see that you think are most important for your local constituents?
Well, first and foremost, the discussion always comes up about local property taxes. And the Concord Monitor actually just did a very good series on the revenue situation in the state of New Hampshire. And the fact of the matter is that, you know, the people throughout the state and in my area, they're very concerned about roads and bridges. They're concerned about the drugs and those related issues. They're concerned about education in particular. And the whole revenue discussion is just a really difficult one in the state of New Hampshire. I think it's fine for us. New Hampshire has always been a very conservative state, and it's fine to go along that path, but people need to recognize that there are expenses that exist no matter what happens, and you can choke state government and choke it, but education is still going to have to be paid for.
That's just going to shift it.
It's this whole, you know, and folks hear the word downshifting. I mean, that is a very real thing in the state of New Hampshire. So the extent to which New Hampshire doesn't fund education has to be funded. It falls to the local property taxpayers. And obviously, it gets to be regressive because there are people who are very well able to pay property taxes, people that aren't, and depending on the state where you, on the town where you live, the property tax levy is higher or lower, and it really becomes difficult. So there's the local property taxes to pay for education. You know, we're supposed to. The less revenue is generated, for instance, from the gas tax, the less money goes down to the towns because
towns to do their work have to make it up with local tax.
Right, and out of the gas tax, there's actually a 12% automatic cut that goes to the towns for their own municipal projects, and that money just doesn't, you know, it's greatly diminished depending on the income that is at the top level. And I think roads and bridges are a big issue. I
want to touch base, when you think about sort of downshifting, we think about towns, but the county budgets are also pretty significant.
And I think actually the county budgets are it's a place that people really have to start paying attention, because at the county level we have the nursing homes and we have the correctional system. And let's just talk about nursing homes. It's well known that the Clough Center, which was an extended care facility in New London, is closing. And everyone is very upset about that. However, many, if not most, of the people that are currently at this private nursing home are on Medicaid. And New Hampshire is 50th in the country in Medicaid reimbursement back to these facilities.
And that it may probably, and I don't know, I haven't looked at it, but that's one of the factors that contributes to the closing of these private nursing homes.
Because the problem is if you're not getting the reimbursement from the state, somebody has to make it up. And in the case of a private facility, you have, like the hospital has to make it up through charging perhaps higher fees, negotiating to get higher fees with the insurance companies, which pushes up premiums. However, if everybody ends up at the county nursing homes, the county can make up the difference, because the reimbursement rate it's getting is the same.
They just tax.
And so the more you shut off these other facilities and you don't help them exist, it goes right into the nursing home and the county tax budget.
Will this be an issue that has to be, and we got about 20 seconds left, addressed in the next biennium?
I think it should definitely be discussed, whether it I mean, I don't know whether there's a resolution there that's looming, because people just can't seem to talk in an intelligent way about revenue increases in the state of New Hampshire.
But the notion of this shifting to the county and shifting to the town, will that surface?
Oh, I'm sure it surfaces all the time. But what you do, you know, how to sort of break through and generate some more revenues at the state level is a discussion that needs to happen and just never seems to.
Well, we're going to have to stop there, but we'll find out in a couple of years whether it happened or not.
Okay.
And thank you for joining us for this edition of Capital Connections, your weekly access to politics and policy along the I-89 and I-91 corridors and how it impacts your life in our region. If you've got a comment or an idea for a future show, please send me an email. And more importantly, please join us again next week for another edition of Capital Connections.